obviously the first thing I'm going to ask you about is the album, which you've described, I believe, as a spitting out process. Can you explain that to me?
Well, sure. That's where most of the energy for, I think, any good music comes. It's basically, musicians are people that kind of, you know, you go through life and on a daily basis, and you shuffle around the street, and you're kind of nobody, and you have to put up with a little of this, and you put up with a little of that, and it's not appropriate to in you know, the course of daily events to always vent your feelings about things. I mean, you know, it doesn't do you much good to go crazy in the sandwich shop, you know, at lunchtime. So you save it all up, and when you play your song or sing your song or beat your drum, that's when it comes out. And that's really the basis of any good musician. It all comes from the same thing. It's you know, usually half anger, a little bit of defiance, a little bit of just the sheer joy of making a neat noise, you know, and a little bit of just the kind of the harmonious feelings engendered by musical participation.
Are you proud of this album?
Yeah, I am. I'm proud of all the people that worked on it, and we worked together very well. A lot of thought went into it, a lot of work. I'm really proud of it.
What about Kate Pearson? How did you meet up with her? How did that come about?
I met her doing one of these dubious rock star collections to Let's Sing Along and Save a Piece of the Earth numbers. It was a song called The Spirit of the Forest, and I was in the chorus. She was in the chorus right below me, and I just started talking to her, and she was a really nice girl. And she told me she liked my vocals. I like your deep voice, she said. So I thought, well, okay, you know, maybe she'd like to sing together. I loved her voice. I've been a fan of theirs for a long time. But basically, I just got to know her doing that afternoon. That's the only reason to do that sort of thing, really.
And the single's about, is this right? It's about your first girlfriend, is that right?
It wasn't my first girlfriend, but she was a really important girlfriend. Yeah, she's been in a lot of my songs, and she was a girlfriend at a particularly wild period in my life, which is, you know, when I sort of hadn't bothered to recognize any responsibilities yet, which is always an attractive time, you know, kind of thing that you remember later.
I wanted to ask you a bit about your film career, which has sort of taken off quite a lot recently, hasn't it? You're about to star in, well, not star, but you're in Hardware.
I worked in Hardware. I'm not seen, but I open and close the film. I'm heard. I'm a DJ, so you don't have to see me anyway. Nobody sees DJs. And his name's Angry Bob, and I based him. There's a particularly obnoxious disc jockey named Howard Stern in the United States that I sort of used as a model. But basically, it takes place in an apocalyptic future, and he's a DJ that he's become very popular by decrying this apocalypse and sort of, you know, saying basically there's no fucking good news today. The world has turned to shit, etc., etc. So let's rock and roll. That's kind of his thing. But as he's gotten bigger, he's taken some of the teeth out of his message in exchange for becoming successful. So, you know, he's kind of become a devil's devil, and it was an interesting character to work with.
How did you get into film roles? Was it a conscious decision?
Yeah, I started working at it about 6 years ago, and got rejected constantly for the first year or two, and then I finally got very, very small parts from a couple of good directors. Alex Cox and Martin Scorsese gave me little parts, and kind of just rolled from there. And then John Waters gave me a more substantial part in Cry Baby.
What was that like?
Which is out now. That was fun. It's a lot of fun. It was, I think when you see the film, my intent was to make it should look pretty ingenuous, like I'm just having a good time being a silly old git, basically. I was supposed to be a hillbilly patriarch of a sort of a clan of delinquent, hopeless American Losers, and but a lot of work went into it. I thought it was good.
So going back a bit, what was it like auditioning? Was that a bit weird?
Yes, yeah. It's not a process I'd ever been through before, but it was hard to deal with the whole situation. It was especially kind of nerve-wracking between getting the call and going to the audition. Oh, what do they want? And eventually, after enough of it, you get seasoned. You know, I must have gone on 30, 40 of them. I don't know. And you start to figure out what it's all about and how you go after just, you know, getting. Basically, you've got to pick your man and get him by the throat and make him notice you, and try to get that part. And then you find there are ways to do that. And usually once you get any good at it, they don't involve auditioning. And of course, because I've got a career in performance that's not in film, the parts I get will tend to relate to whatever I'm doing on stage or on record or in my own videos. Because the directors will see these things, or they'll read something about me, and they'll cast me thusly. As John Waters did in the Crybaby. He probably read somewhere that I was some sort of a father of some sort of music. So, you know, okay, well, he can be the father in my movie, you know.
What was I going to say? Have you got anything coming up? Have you got any other roles coming?
Yeah, I can't talk about it yet because it's not finished.
What about film music? Does that interest you? Because you've done a couple of things like Repo Man.
I did Repo Man. That was a great experience, and I'd love to do more of that. But the soundtrack gigs tend to go to synthesizer people, which I'm not. It's not my forte. I make up songs. I'm a songwriter as opposed to a music soundbite type of a guy. So I really like doing themes for films, and I like writing songs or singing songs that relate to a character in a film. I also did one for Ridley Scott recently, which is Living on the Edge of the Night, which wasn't used as prominently as I'd hoped, but it should have been.
And there's a song on the album that's actually inspired by a film, wasn't it? Is that right? It's Something Wild. Something
Wild?
Yeah.
It's news to me. That's John Hyatt's song.
Oh, sorry, I fucked up completely there. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Hey.
What still motivates you or drives you after all this time? It's such a long career.
There's a lot of areas artistically in which I'm very weak, and I'd like to get better at those. I'd like to be able to sing more powerfully in a higher register. The lyrics, there's a big gap. I think I'm a lot better than most guys writing lyrics, or girls for that matter, but there's a big gap between what I've really got to say and the clarity with which I'm able to say it. A big gap. That's something I'd like to work on. I'd like to make more money, and just like to improve as a film actor and theater as well, if I could, if I get the chance. So a lot of clarity that's basically the basic area in my work where I could stand a lot of improvement.
I mean, musically, is there sort of less of a gap now between what you want and what you get?
No, it's still a big gap between what I want and what I get. Maybe more than there ever was, because I think when I was I broke the most ground, as most people do, when I was in my early mid-20s, and basically then all I really wanted to do was do something with a very fierce energy and just piss everybody off and shake things up, and I did that. And then what happened was sort of I've kind of repeated different permutations of that for 18, 20 years since, but personally there's a lot more I've got to offer now that really is just starting to come to the surface, you know, because if you manage to have some sort of an interesting life and not die in the middle of it, you sort of got some things that you could talk about that require more finesse.
Thinking about that, what do you see yourself doing, say, in 10 years' time? The same thing?
Probably working within the same formats, I should hope to be making some sort of recordings, sound recordings, probably some sort of videos, and I'd like to be working in film or theater. Hard to say where the accent will fall, you know. Worst case scenario, I may be playing the pub in your neighborhood. I don't know, you know. Best case, I may be retired and a Mexican, you know. Fuck off, everybody. You know, I shall work no more. Whatever, I don't know.
What's been the happiest period in your life, do you think?
When I'm on stage doing performing a very good song very well, or the moment after I've just put a good vocal on a really good track in the studio and I know it's going to work, and that it's been captured there for a longer period of time than I shall live, and it has my name on it. Then that's a very, very good feeling indeed, you know.
And still nothing can touch that?
Not yet.
What about, I wanted to ask you about your lecturing that you've been doing. What do you lecture in?
Oh, jeans and a t-shirt, usually. At universities, I was asked to lecture on, and I talked to them about the necessity of having some creativity of your own involved in your life, and how that can provide you an escape from the death sentence of your normal role in society that's mapped out for you. And I told him that's sort of what I've tried to do with my life. Is basically, you know, my life for me began one day in high school when I thought, I don't care what anybody thinks of me or how much money I have or anything. I just want to get out of here. You know, I'm not going to wear a tight collar all my life unless I'm in the mood, sort of thing. And just sort of talked about the obstacles that can get in the way of a person who just wants to live their own life, such as financial insecurity, race prejudice, cultural isolation, especially in the suburbs. You know, people just get out in their little cushy little box in the suburbs and kind of die. Sexual deprivation, because people don't know how to get anywhere that way. TV just basically destroys your brain. You know, you lose the ability to converse or to read. You know, I'm a big proponent of reading. I think everybody should read a lot.
What sort of thing do you read?
Anything. Viz. Yeah. Johnny Fart Pants is one of my big favorites. Yeah, I read anything from Viz to the Bible to Robert Graves. You name it. You know, Gore Vidal, Martin Amis. Pretty wide range.
Do you have any particular favourites though?
No, I think just I'd like to be informed. You know, I read the Times this morning. You know.
Going back to what you were saying though, you just woke up one morning and thought, I don't care what people think. Do you still care?
What they think?
Do you care what people think now?
Not personally, no. Only in as much as they can affect my rewards in life. You know. But I mean, I don't really care what they think. You know, but I mean, you know, in as much as they can reward or punish me within our system, yeah, sure. You have to care a little bit, you know what I mean? I mean, obviously you have to care if somebody thinks you're a criminal because they'll put you in jail, you know, which used to happen to me in some of my early shows, you know. There was a difference of opinion. I thought I was entertaining and someone else thought I was demoralizing the community. So, you know, we had a difference at that point, but I don't really care because basically, you know, at the end of the day, it's my skin I have to live in.
Do you do anything illegal at all now?
I haven't in the last 10 days, no. I haven't broken a law in 10 days.
What was the last one you broke?
Well, I'm not going to tell you, am I? There wouldn't be any.
Well, it might have been something inoffensive, like a parking ticket. I don't know.
I haven't broken a law in 10 days. That's pretty good, eh? Yeah.
Do you? I just want to ask you a bit about your life at the moment. Do you work out still every day?
No, but I sort of. I try to do something that has to do with some way. I sort of try to like. I'm on a sort of. I have a close relationship with my body, and I don't work out a lot or regularly. I like to go swimming sometimes. I like to do that sort of mentally, just to get out of everything. Somehow, if I'm in water, I just feel I feel out of the grid of the world, you know, the imposed structure that's, you know, the giant voice that tells you, good morning, it's 6:30 a.m. and time to get up and listen to the Crap All Over It show with, you know, with whoever the fuck he is telling me more bullshit about, you know. So I like to get out. But no, I do a little, you know, I just try to keep loose, go to bed at night, eat right, mess around, a little Tai Chi maybe, just a few minutes, you know. Or go for a swim, maybe go, I went to a gym about 3 times a week last summer for about 3 months. That was kind of fun, but not something I want to, you know, I don't want to be like Jack LaLanne. Do you have him here? You know, I don't want to be like, hey, you know, it's not really.
But do people still ask? I mean, it's quite interesting because I was reading an interview with you, and you were saying that somebody from the Times asked you to take their shirt off.
Yeah.
So that still
yeah,
happens.
Some other guy. Some guy in Germany. Just like I was doing an interview with somebody. He says, "So you are still taking off your shirt on the stage? No? You are proud of your body? Huh? You know, like, ooh, you know." And it's yeah. I mean, I was when I started singing. I was using dance techniques then. It's a way to express yourself. You know, you can raise your hand a certain way, and you can say something. You know, rap groups do it too. You know, a lot of people do it. So it's really more about that. You know.
But do you ever get fed up with this sort of question now? I mean, that was a. No, it doesn't bother you?
No, because it's not like, you know, it used to get me fed up a little bit until I realized that, I mean, how many rock and roll guys are getting interviewed on how many video programs right now? What we're talking is so much of it, and it all just washes over people anyway. And in the end, all that's really important about the interview situation is, like, you know, the name and the face. And the rest of it just goes, sort of washes anyway. So it really doesn't, if you look at it in that perspective, I don't get hung up on the details too much.
What about actually thinking about other musicians? What do you listen to? What do you like?
Lately, album called The Good Son by Nick Cave.
Oh.
It's a very, very favorite record with me. I'm also listening to, there's a record of Islamic music done by a guy named Simon Shaheen, produced by Bill Laswell, who's a producer in New York who I worked with on an album once. And that's Islamic classical music. It's like they took a 14th century composer's piece and did it with modern digital technology, but using the traditional instruments also. It's beautiful. I like the Cramps album right now. I've been listening to what's in my bag. Napalm Death, Scum. I like that album, Scum. Julie London, like Cry Me a River, you know, and Frank Sinatra's, he's got an album called Only the Lonely, which is all songs for lonely people, which I really like.
What do you think about the sort of current
and
music?
Ginger Baker has a new album, which is very good, and that's also, Bill Laswell produced that. It's just instrumental music. That's really good. It's on a little label called Mango. Plug.
Well, what do you think about the sort of current music scene, like the prevalence of dance and that sort of thing?
Well, I don't think that is the current music scene. I just think it's about as current as, like, I don't know, Captain Crunch cereal. Do you have that stuff, you know, or like Ninja Turtle pizza? I mean, it's like, most of it's just rubbish. Some of it can be good. Most of it's just music for people that don't really know how to dance, and they don't know much about music either. But when it's down and good and groove, you know, a good dance groove can be killer, killer. It's like anything else. Most of it sucks. Some of it can be really good. I'm not against dance music. You know, in fact, there's a killer groove. Somebody gave me an album, a guy in France the other day gave me an album by an Egyptian guy doing Islamic dance music, and it was killer. It was a real dance groove, but you know, singing that way, those strange sounds. I can't do them. It was really good. It's really good.
Still going back to your life at the moment, do you still play golf?
About 10 days a year. I do it with my dad. You know.
Really?
Yeah, it's something to do. Like, family thing. That's about it. You know. I think it's a nice game.
So do you go back to see your parents in, is it Michigan?
As much as I possibly can, yeah. Maybe works out to 2 or 3 weeks out of the year. I just try to spend together. You know, it's just, I don't have that much time.
How do you feel when you go back there?
Well, I enjoy being with them. You know, we do it about a week at a time, because after that we get on each other's nerves. It's like, oh, fuck. You know, because, you know, you just do, you know. They no longer live where I grew up, but yeah, I like Michigan. Yeah.
Do they call you Jimmy or Iggy?
They call me Jim.
And do you think
Jim Jr. sometimes, or, you know.
Do you think in your life there's always been a distinction between being Iggy and being Jimmy?
No, not really. It's not any different. The same distinction that many people have who do, I mean, some sort of performance field. It's just that I was probably I was among the first to adopt a name that wasn't anglicized. In other words, I didn't call myself, like, you know, Johnny Jones or something, you know, or, you know, it used to be that people with awkward names would make something a little more neat and clean, and I sort of took and just made the most awkward name of all, you know. So it's just a little bolder than the next person, that's all, you know.
So to a lot of people, you're a kind of living legend, aren't you? Well, you are, I'll tell you that.
I don't know what that means exactly, but...
How do you feel about that?
I feel really good. I feel really good that the songs that I've done and some of the shows I've done have connected and had an impact. I feel great about it. Particularly that they've had an impact that's withstood time. So then you know it's quality work. And especially because when I did them at first, a lot of people sort of went, up yours, you know. So, you know, it feels very good. Yeah, it feels good.
Well, what would you say if people were to try and emulate you or be influenced by you? Would you recommend that, or?
Well, I think I always wince at emulation. I've certainly never tried to emulate anybody, but I think if something's good, it's certainly wise to get influenced by it and reuse it in your own way. And I do that, and I see other people do that with my work. It feels great when I see it, you know. Who
are you influenced by at the moment, then? Is there?
Jeez, oh God, it's like a big list, you know. Well, mine remain pretty constant. It would be some of the people I already told you I was listening to. Like I said, I really like what Nick Cave's been doing. I've been listening a lot to Julie London and Frank Sinatra lately. My next album may not rock at all. I may do something in that vein, just very torch songs, something very quiet and smooth. Otherwise, I like just the people I've always liked: John Coltrane, Archie Shepp, Albert Ayler, and Sun Ra, as far as the jazz people. For rock and roll, Link Wray, who was like a killer guitar player. Without him, there would have been no Pete Townsend, Keith Richards, Neil Young, Bob Dylan, you know, guys like that. And then for like sort of real roots stuff, Bo Diddley, Howlin' Wolf, Chuck Berry, you know, just same stuff, the good bedrock stuff, real stuff. Guys who could really write a song that said something and was catchy and was also a little just plain sick and weird, and where it had a riff that had sort of an undeniable power of some sort.
On a slightly different tack, I was going to ask you about your painting and if you're still painting.
I haven't been right now, no, because the sort of the other thing, trying to sort of the film and TV and videos and stuff like that has taken up anything I have left over from the music, has kind of gone into that. What I have been doing is learning what I can about painters who paint for a living, you know, like the big ones, and I've been kind of snooping around, checking them out, and sort of seeing where that's all at, so that maybe in the future I might have another go.
Do you collect paintings?
I've got one Robert Williams. That's it. And I've got another piece of art, which is a large blue doll that's about 7 feet tall, has enormous breasts, sits in my living room, by a New York artist.
You were saying earlier you'd like to make some more money.
Yeah, I mean, got to keep making money to keep eating and keep a roof over your head, and to keep the pleasures of life reconstituting themselves, yeah.
Would you collect more if you had more money? I mean, is that the sort of...
Would I collect more stuff? Yeah, sure, because I like to have that stuff around. That's why I like to wake up in the morning and see it and go, hey, wow, that's cool. Yeah, sure.
But money isn't a problem, is it?
No, I don't know. Oh, you mean like, oh, I'm starting. No, it's not a problem, but, you know, it's like, I just always hate it when, like, you know, people ask people that do what I do sort of about their aspirations, and they never mention it, and half of them, that's all they think about anyway. So, you know, it's like, hey, you know, yeah, everybody wants that.
What about, you mentioned you've been around Europe recently. Have you been back to Berlin at all since the wall came down?
To work a couple of times, yeah.
What do you think of it?
Well, I liked it better the way it was, you know.
Why?
It was cooler. Now it's just like, you know, any old poser with a neo-fascist fixation can kind of get in there, and, you know, I don't know, it's kind of trended out right now.
So you didn't bother to get your little chunk of the wall then and take that?
No, I have it. I have the walls in here, you know. I really liked the wall. It's marvelous.
Really?
I liked it, yeah.
About the only person.
I mean, it's also marvelous that it came down. If the main thing I like about it coming down is just that it was so surprising. It was interesting that, you know, one tends to think there's certain monolithic, ugly realities in life that one tends to just live with day after day till you finally just think, it can never be changed. And that was kind of one of them, or symbolic of that. And you just always think, and there's always going to be this wall and this iron curtain. And then one day, boom, and that's really nice. That idea is nice. But on the other hand, you know, when I lived in that city, there was clean air, no traffic. You could get a loft for a couple $100 a month. I paid $80 for my flat. There were no art posers. There were no fake galleries, no yuppies. You know, it was just cooler. It's cooler, you know.
One last question. Are you an optimist, would you say?
Neither optimist or pessimist, just kind of neutral on that, as far as all that sort of thing goes, you know. I'd say I'm pretty daring, you know. I mean, if I think, you know, I don't think much about it. Is this going to go well or bad? It's just if I think I want to do it, I'll just do it, you know.
Okay.
Cool.